My sister refused to pay my son after she booked him as a photographer at her wedding. To my surprise, she brushed off my concerns, claiming that she had already spent a lot on the wedding and couldn't afford to pay him. Growing up, my sister and I were always close. We shared secrets, clothes, and dreams. So when she asked me if my teenage son could be the photographer at her wedding, I immediately agreed. After all, I knew how much she valued family and wanted to support her in any way I could. My son, Jake, was ecstatic at the opportunity. He had been experimenting with photography for a while and was eager to showcase his skills at such a special event. He spent hours researching poses, lighting, and editing techniques to ensure that he captured every moment perfectly. On the day of the wedding, Jake arrived early to set up his equipment and get a feel for the venue. As the ceremony began, he discreetly moved around, snapping photos of the happy couple, their families, and friends. He was in his element, completely focused on his task, and determined to deliver top-notch photos. After the reception, Jake painstakingly edited the photos, ensuring that each one was flawless. When he finally presented them to my sister and her new husband, they were overjoyed. They praised his talent and thanked him for capturing their special day so beautifully. I couldn't have been prouder of my son. Weeks went by, and my sister still hadn't mentioned payment for Jake's services. I decided to gently broach the subject, reminding her that Jake had spent a lot of time and effort on the photos. To my surprise, she brushed off my concerns, claiming that she had already spent a lot on the wedding and couldn't afford to pay him. I was taken aback by her attitude. I never expected my sister, who had always been so generous and caring, to refuse to compensate my son for his hard work. I tried to reason with her, explaining that Jake had put his heart and soul into the project and deserved to be paid for his services. But my sister remained firm in her decision. She argued that families should help each other out without expecting anything in return. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It seemed that my sister's priorities had shifted, and she was no longer the thoughtful and considerate person I had known. I struggled with conflicting emotions. Part of me wanted to let it go, to preserve the harmony within our family, but another part of me couldn't stand the injustice of the situation. I knew that I had to stand up for my son, to show him that his efforts were valued and appreciated. I decided to confront my sister one last time. I made it clear that I wouldn't back down until Jake received the compensation he deserved. I pleaded with her to see reason and to understand the impact her actions were having on our relationship. To my relief, my sister finally relented. She agreed to pay Jake for his photography services, although she made it clear that she was doing it begrudgingly. I was grateful for her decision, but it saddened me to see how much our relationship had been strained by this incident. In the end, Jake received his payment, and my sister's wedding photos were treasured by all who saw them. But the joy of the occasion was overshadowed by the bitterness that had crept into our family dynamic. I could only hope that time would heal the rift between us, and that we could once again find the closeness and understanding that had always defined our relationship.